In 1981, there was a murder so shocking that it changed the entertainment world forever, yet the killer was never brought to justice. Now, almost 40 years later, we're reopening the case, reviewing old leads as well as new evidence, to try and make sense of a killing which gave rise to a massacre. The who, what, why, and how of when video killed the radio star. Welcome to the Radio Star Murders.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Radio Star Murders. We're trying to figure out when indeed did video kill the radio star. My name is Wes Diesel. I'm Joe McClay. It's your turn to pick a video, and you have chosen, why don't you just announce what you've said?
I have picked Queen of the Reich by Queensryche from 1983. This is sort of the video that was the genesis of this idea, because it is in and of itself a, I would call it a short film.
Yes.
And I'll read you the description of what happens in this. Cocaine is a hell of a drug, but cocaine plus sci-fi nerds is something special. After a long opening text crawl that's filled with post-apocalyptic cliches, but is still better than the one from Attack of the Clones, we're taken on a tour of the room they keep the rejected alien props from the original Doctor Who series. We meet Queensryche, freedom fighters in this dystopian future who are sure to still make time between freedom fights to play some sweet music together. They fight the Queen of the Reich, a galactic despot in sexy Captain Power cosplay, even though they themselves are named Queensryche, which is only one on a long list of confusing narrative elements wrapped up in an epic story told with not enough budget, but also too much budget, if that makes sense. Ending on a cliffhanger, it promises to be the first in a series of tales of Queensryche, and I'm not entirely sure this whole thing isn't some sort of fever dream or tulpa created by me at the age of 12 when I just said, like, wouldn't it be cool if, over and over until I blacked out.
Yep.
So yeah, I picked this because it's like, this is, so far we've covered, it's the second one I've picked that has an opening crawl, which is interesting.
You're a big fan of exposition before your music videos.
You got to set the stage, you know?
Yep.
The videos we've touched on have been one of two kinds, which is you've got like a short story kind of time, which is telling a very short film-esque and a very clear through line that kind of enhances the song. And the other kind is sort of like whatever fucking Imagine Dragons was.
Right.
And it's a little bit more abstract and stuff. This one...
Films versus television stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
This one is... I don't really know how to describe it other than like a D&D group that got too much money.
Yeah.
Like it's a song. I was looking at the lyrics to see if the lyrics could really shed any light on anything.
the lyrics are exactly what what the video is about. Yeah.
It's like, so Queensryche is a heavy metal band who are known for doing kind of like big concept things. Like they've got this famous concept album called Operation Mindcrime.
Yes.
And I think they did a sequel to it. Very like heady, kind of cliche, futuristic, dystopian kind of concepts. And the lyrics to this song are about this character, Queen of the Reich, but they don't tell you in the song what this character is or like what the point of it is. It's very much a middle of the road heavy metal song with like kind of a cool hook. So the video, sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's kind of about like the lyrics describe basically death. Like death is coming for you, and she's called the Queen of the Reich. Yeah. Yeah,
I'm not really sure what that means, Queen of the Reich. I don't know if that's like vaguely fascist or what. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. They name themselves after the song, apparently too.
I guess, or I don't know. I don't know what the but they spelt it differently and added an umlaut because you had to back then. And the video kind of like, I wouldn't say it enhances the song or makes anything more clear, because it's a very darkly shot video, and it's a lot of like it's like someone wrote a short story and then just like picked out a bunch of shit and and just kind of smashed it together in a music video.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like the video in of itself is one thing. It's this crazy, very low budget sci-fi fantasy epic that still manages to have like a matte painting and like optical effects in it and pyro. But at the front, there's this very long text crawl a la Star Wars, which I will read to you now in full because I think you need to hear it. Because the video itself doesn't make a ton of sense. So then they have to really, on top of the lyrics of the song and the visual, they also need to give you a text crawl to explain what the hell you're watching. And it says, in the millennium after the Fourth Great War, the world was in chaos. An evil adventurer had discovered an ancient computer energized by a crystal so powerful that it enabled her to enslave the world and to become queen, ... quote, queen of the Reich. So that clears everything up, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Many tried to destroy the queen and failed, only to be absorbed into her computer shrine. Mankind's last hope was the 5 freedom fighters, ... And then you're introduced to the band, who I guess the band are the freedom fighters.
Who get credits in interesting. They get their name and then the instrument that they play. Yeah.
The queen becomes alerted to their presence, and then they do like one of those things they did in the 60s where they go when they're playing on Ed Sullivan, where they do close-ups of each band member and say their name.
Yeah. Identity scans.
But yeah, it's this this weird blend of music video where you're just showing the band play and music video where you're doing like a story.
Yes.
Where
they split
neither
screen
of them
occasionally. They split screen it during the guitar
solo. They
solo.
do both at the same time. Yes. So you get the story, but you also get to watch the guitar solo.
Well, let's see here. So I am unfamiliar with Queensryche. I know the band obviously, but I don't know anything really about their song or their style. I would describe their music as and this is basically without knowing anything, they sound just like Iron Maiden, basically. Like they really are, they sit comfortably in this middle of like so many bands of the era sounded like this. It's that sort of, it's that galloping guitar riff where it's a dung, digga, dung, digga, dung, digga, dung, digga, dung. And which I always associate with the Iron Maiden. And I don't know if they just kind of pulled it from them, but it's that with these sort of very operatic vocals, like this sort of, soaring falsettos almost at a point, and then it is guitar solo and just a lot of crunch and very vague lyrics about things. So the funny thing to me was that I while I've listened to the Meatloaf song since we've done it, I would probably never listen to this Queensryche song anymore because it's a pretty forgettable, boring song, but the video really amplifies it. But would you say that, like, you seem to like metal quite a bit? Is this like a wheelhouse genre of metal for you?
Yeah, you know, I think this, I've never gotten into Queensryche. I feel like they took the parts that I liked the least about Iron Maiden and just amplified that stuff. So like they're trying to be like big and theatrical and epic, but they're not as good as musically.
Right.
Like the singer is not as good as Bruce Dickinson. I've never liked this guy's voice. It's too, he can sing really high, but he doesn't have any weight to his voice. Like it feels very thin. And I hate heavy metal singers that try to sing like Bruce Dickinson, but don't have the actual power behind it to do it. Yeah. And the music's, it's pretty run of the mill 80s heavy metal, which, you know, it can be fun. It's not, I don't think it's a terrible song.
No, it's not terrible. No.
I would listen to this over, I would listen to most Poison songs. But it's like, it's not one that I would seek out to listen to because I really enjoy it or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched
like the concept isn't strong enough where I'm like, I really want to see what the next song on this album is because I love the Queen of the Reich concept.
Even if the video ends in a to be continued. I think that what's funny about the song itself is that I listened to it about 5 or 6 times this morning to get ready to it. I could not sing You Back the Hook at this point. If you asked me to like sing the chorus to you.
The only part I know is Queen of the Reich.
That's all. That's pretty much all I would do, and I don't know if that would actually be accurate to like how the rest of the song goes. But it's I was sort of surprised by how forgettable of a song it is. Like it's really not anything special. It's if you took generic metal 80s band and said you have an hour to come up with a song, I imagine something like this would have come out of it, which makes the video is funny because the video is what endeared me to it, because the video is so terrible and goofy, but I will remember the video in a way that I don't remember the song.
Totally. Yeah. I think Queensryche is pretty boring, and this video is definitely makes the song memorable because I remember the video and the ridiculousness of the video more than I remember anything about the song.
If you were in this band, I guess this ties into any band, how much would you care that the lead singers are always the people who carry narratives and are seen as the front man of the band? Because in the context of the story, it opens with that crawl. We see the band. They all get introduced. And the band members, except for the singer, are immediately captured and immobilized. Like they are taken out of the action almost immediately, leading the lead singer to have to carry the story for the rest of the way. If you were just a guitarist in a band, would that annoy you about being in a band?
Well, I guess it would depend on the band and how long I've been in the band for. Like if you're the guitarist in Whitesnake, you are one of like 13 guitarists who have been in Whitesnake over the years. So
sure, yeah.
David Coverdale is going to get the lion's share of the focus if you're in Whitesnake.
Yes, and if you have Freddie Mercury as your front man, I suppose you'd want the attention to be on Freddie as opposed to you noodling around in the background.
Yeah, it's always interesting to me where you can see where clearly there has been some sort of hang up there. And it only ever comes out like much later after the band breaks up or something, or like somebody dies or whatever. Because like the one I'm thinking of off the top of my head is Journey. Everybody knows Journey because of Steve Perry.
Yeah,
even though Steve Perry was not. Yeah, he was not the original singer of the band, and he has not been the last singer of the band. The main driving force of Journey has always been guitarist Neil Schon.
Yeah.
And
same with Queen, which Queen continued without Freddie Mercury. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they did, but with quotes around.
But
continued,
I would say the same about Journey. I would say Journey quote unquote continued, but they are not the real band. It's not AC/DC, which basically Bon Scott dies and then they become even bigger.
True. Also, Queen did take off like 20 years before they started touring again. Okay. So I give them a little bit of leeway on that one.
Sure.
But Journey has been touring, since Steve Perry has left the band, which was like 30 years ago now.
Yeah, they went their separate ways.
And put no pun intended. Well, we'll be getting to that video eventually, trust me. But like I've seen interviews with Neil Schon where it's clear that he's kind of pissed off that people are like, "Where's Steve Perry?" all the time, because the band was his baby.
Yep.
And I saw an interview where he was like, "Hey, Journey existed before Steve Perry. It will exist after Steve Perry. And, we're just thankful for the time that he had, but we're doing our own thing now." It's like, well, your own thing is getting other singers who look and sound just like him.
Yeah.
And doing the same types of music and doing a lot of greatest hit stuff. So clearly there's some sort of, weird mixed feelings about the whole thing.
I read an interview with Stephen Perry recently, who is extremely bitter about that breakup, and he will not go back to work with them, even though the band has requested that he come back and perform with them again. It sounds to me that the band kicked him out in a way that probably wasn't kosher, and they kind of feel bad about it, judging from the other interviews with the band members. And Stephen Perry is still so bitter about it that, probably rightly so, he refuses to perform with Journey again, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think at a certain point, you have to make the decision about, like, it's either more of a headache for me to go back and do this, or is it more of a headache for me not to do this?
Right.
And for him, it's probably just like, well, I think it would be more of a headache for me to go back and do it, so I'm choosing not to do it.
Yeah. But with Queensryche here, the band is captured.
What's the song? I forget. I've already forgotten the song that we're doing.
With Queen of the Reich, the band is immobilized a la Aliens in sort of rock cocoons, and the lead singer. Probably the most interesting part of the video is during the guitar solo, the lead singer just kind of fucks off to the back of the stage, and he enters the story of the movie, and he he sort of attacks horribly costumed alien people, and he rescues a girl, and they run off in the direction that they were going in the first place, and so she turns into be a bad guy, and then it ends in a sort of horrible laser fight where he puts a lot of effort into his barrel roll, but it's really just the video itself is so cheap and silly. Like, I wonder if I was in a band, all I could think of while watching this is I would have a hard time shooting this video with my band mate. I'd have a hard time buying into this concept of this is how we want the band to be seen. But these guys also
a lot of that going on in the early days of music video.
Yeah, I think so. And it just like it was just such the early 80s metal was just such a kind of a silly scene like that. I really just can't get over how, outside of this video, how generic the band is. Because if you were to compare probably 90% of early 80s metal bands to each other, everything is the same to them. Like, down to the way that they stand and the way that they perform and the way the stage looks, it's all the same. It looks so similar to each other.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting if and when, definitely when, we do more metal videos from this era, because... for exactly what you're talking about, because the ones that are the most successful are the ones where the band just pops, right? Because that's what the purpose of. That's why so many of them ended up they dropped the pretense of this, crazy apocalyptic shit or whatever, and they just focus on the band, showing the band play, because once music videos became a big thing and it was like visual, all these bands had to figure out a way to stand out. So this one is very, very drab. Everybody looks the same. It's very generic. A lot just like basically headband. They look like freedom fighters from any episode of TNG you ever watched.
Yeah, they're the gatherers from that Vengeance
Yeah.
Factor episode where Riker ices that woman. These are the guys who are just kind of the background characters in that episode.
Yeah, big hair, headband, leather vest. That's about it. Very interchangeable. There's a point. I actually, it's funny that they go through and they do this introduction of all the band members, but you can't actually see them because their hair's so big and the lighting is so dark. And any other time they show the band in full, it's like a long shot and it just is a bunch of like black blobs like moving around.
Also, only the drummer really selling some energy in his close-up.
Yeah.
Everyone is pretty low energy in that, especially I think the second guitarist looks like he just learned how to pick up a guitar that morning, I think.
Yeah. And it's if you compare this to like a Motley Crue video or a Poison video, those guys make an impact with their look, you know?
Yeah.
And this is 83, so this is like, well, I mean, Iron Maiden's been around. I think this is right before Motley Crue and Poison and those guys start to hit, those ones that are very much more visual bands.
Yeah.
So maybe that's just the benefit or not being in the right place at the right time. But it's almost like this video's to me almost like they said, okay, guys, you guys are very plain looking. You don't have anything interesting about you. So we're going to have to pick up the slack by making a very visually interesting video that's going to really engage people. But they didn't really pull that off. Or maybe they did. I mean, we're talking about it, and we clearly had fun watching it.
Yeah, so. I think so. I think it's a very enjoyable at how bad of a movie it is. But it does the whole, like, if I were to boil down what this video is, the essence of it is we need to make this band exciting because this band is not exciting, and this is the way that it came across. Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, interesting.
Even that final shot of the video is like this glamour shot of them lit from the back where you can't see any of their faces.
Yeah, they're doing a very cinematic thing of they're all moving in a very closely huddled group, even though they're in a giant cave with each other. And then
it's like a Three Stooges move.
Yeah, and then they pull off her mask, and the bright light of like the Pulp Fiction suitcase hits them, and they're all like, whoa, and then it says to be continued, and that's the end of it.
Also, I would like to point out that there is definitely a shot in this video that is a still photograph. At 3:24, 22, 24, 25? Mm-hmm. Yeah, somewhere in there, like 3:24. They cut to a still photograph of the Queen with her laser gun, and then they do an optical laser, like an effect blast.
Yeah, before he reflects it back,
Yeah, but they didn't have the footage of her doing that, I guess. So they just used, because it changes aspect ratio too. So it clearly just cuts to a still photograph with a laser shooting out of her gun.
It's well worth watching. The song will be on the playlist if people want to listen to it. But yeah, just really, that is my kind of takeaway of it. I did enjoy it. I would say I enjoyed this more than the Meatloaf video, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I
okay.
really, just because I think that the schism between what the song is and what the video is much greater here, where I feel like the video is really all it's got going for it, where I like the Meatloaf song, and I think the Meatloaf song is actually a good song outside of that, and I don't know if the caliber of the video for Meatloaf matches the caliber of the song. This is the exact opposite.
Yeah. It's how do you feel like this this is a weird one where we were looking at Smack My Bitch Up, which is very much feels like a short film with a soundtrack, because the soundtrack is it doesn't really have any lyrics, and it's just sort of like music supporting the visuals. Does this almost kind of do that as well, because the music is actually so bland and vague?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems less deliberate in that way, just because they did attempt to write a song here which has like lyrics in it and things like that, but it doesn't come across in the way that like the Smack My Bitch Up feels like a film score, because you're making a video to this song, and this kind of feels the other way. It doesn't feel like it's really complementing the song, even though it is on a lot of ways. It feels like it's its own little unique creation, as in the way that the Smack My Bitch Up felt like it was a part and parcel of everything.
Yeah, it almost feels like that they had planned, like it was a big multimedia rollout that they had planned, where it's like, yeah, the music is going to support the video is going to support the music, and people are going to love the video, and we're going to leave it a cliffhanger because people are going to want to see more, because they're going to be like, well, who is this?
Yep.
But then that never happens.
They do have like
so
16
all you have
albums.
left is the music, and you're like, yeah, man,
yeah,
Queen of the Reich. I don't know what it's about, but sounds cool.
Gotta
Vaguely Nazi-ish, but I don't really want to think about that.
I couldn't find my TV remote to turn the volume on, but I assume it's a real bitchin' song because the video is just incredible. Let me buy the album sight unseen. Well, that's it. I think we're done with this one. Thank you guys for listening to this. Hope you really are enjoying. Leave some comments about what kind of videos you'd want to see going forward.
That's an interesting way to think about it, actually. Maybe we should consider that. Would watching the video make you buy the album?
Sure. Yeah, I don't actually think about that while we're doing it now, but I do, because what our context is now is, does the video improve the audio experience? And it does for this one for me. If I haven't been specific enough, it does do that for me.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would buy the album if I saw this video. Certainly in the context of now, I don't know what it would have been like if I was a 15-year-old kid in 1983 when it came out. Maybe it would have, but certainly not now. But it does make me a little bit nostalgic for that era of goofy music.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it definitely enhances the song. Would I buy the album based on this? Probably no.
No, yeah. I mean, it's same with, like, I think like this band reminds me of Rat for some reason. Like Round and Round is kind of this video. Like it's the same. It's what I was talking about of like all the metal. That would be a good one to cover later. That's a fun video. Yeah, but it's kind of this. It's not as goofy as this, but it's the same. Like the look is the same. Like if you plugged Rat into this music video, I wouldn't be able to tell. If you dropped
100%.
If they were just the same people. But that's kind of what it reminds me of, and that's although I like Round and Round as a song better than this. So
yeah, I would agree too. Round and Round is a great song.
That's it. Thank you, guys.
If you can just watch this video, but with Round and Round playing instead, I think we've got a winner.
Maybe the lyrics actually work with it better too.
Yeah.
That's it for this one. We did Queensryche, Queen of the Reich. We'll be back. I have not picked a song yet. I'm thinking 80s pop. It's either going to be Tears for Fears or When in Rome are going to be my two. So I'll join Clay in the 80s, but it won't be metal. But we'll figure out what it is next week. And until then, you can follow the show. There's all the social media links, all that stuff. You can subscribe on iTunes. There's a Spotify playlist. There's a YouTube playlist for all the videos. Those are all linked down below. You can check those out. And that's it. Guys, thank you very much for listening to the Radio Star Murders, and we'll see you next time.